listening to the WrestleHavoc Podcast on YouTube, where we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. We talk all that goes on in the realm of WWE and AEW every week. And now, here's your host, the one that will give you a reality check on pro wrestling, Flamin' Ricky DeReyes. This is the WrestleHavoc Podcast.
Insane violence on all levels. What is up, everybody? It is Flamin' Ricky DeReyes right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, here to review AEW Dynamite from July 19th, 2023. It is blood and guts. Overall thoughts on this show. This episode of Dynamite was fucking top-notch. I absolutely loved this episode of Dynamite. Of course, the main focus was the Blood and Guts match. This was the third ever Blood and Guts match that AEW has produced. Of course, the first being the Inner Circle versus the Pinnacle. The second being the Jericho Appreciation Society versus the Blackpool Combat Club. And the third, which is this particular match, consisting of the Blackpool Combat Club, once again, taking on the Golden Elite. This match as a whole, the Blood and Guts match as a whole, was everything that it needed to be. It was crazy. You saw a lot of crazy shit. Nobody fell off the cage, which honestly, it's a good thing because it was starting to get a little bit repetitive. But nonetheless, man, everything about the match was perfect. From the visuals, from the production standpoint, everything was just so good. The story that was told in both rings was phenomenal. Jon Moxley is one crazy son of a bitch, and I will continue to say that throughout the majority of this whole review. Throughout the duration of this whole review, I will say Jon Moxley is one crazy son of a bitch. But still, overall, man, the Blood and Guts match was phenomenal, but the stuff that happened before the Blood and Guts match was very good, which was primarily the first hour of Dynamite. We saw Jungle Boy Jack Perry. We shouldn't really call him Jungle Boy anymore. He's just Jack Perry. We saw him defeat Hook for the FTW title, which was absolutely, I don't want to say shocking, because when they booked this match, it kind of made sense in a way for Jack Perry to get the win over Hook. Because if you think about it, Hook was on a winning streak that at this point nobody really gave a single shit about, because they really weren't doing anything with Hook to begin with. But if you think about it, they just turned Jack Perry heel, and it'd be very foolish for Jack Perry to lose his first match as a heel. So we saw Jack Perry beat Hook and win the FTW Championship. Of course, the developments in the storyline regarding Chris Jericho and Don McAllis are continuing to escalate. We also had, of course, Adam Cole and MJF. They are both better than you, baby. And they finally hit the double clothesline. Yes, they hit the double clothesline in Boston at the TD Garden, and let me tell you, the crowd, 8,000 strong at the TD Garden, fucking popped for a goddamn double clothesline. If they are popping the way that they did on this show, you can tell they are invested with what they are watching. I said the same thing with the Bloodline stuff. The same thing applies to Adam Cole and MJF. So we got a lot of things to unpack regarding this AEW Dynamite this week. Of course, Blood and Guts. This was a phenomenal show on all levels. Nothing really bad happened on this show, and I absolutely loved everything that I watched, man. Blood and Guts, honestly, I look forward to Blood and Guts every year. Of course, it is AEW's version of War Games, and it is on free television aside from pay-per-view. But overall, man, this was just off the charts. I absolutely loved Blood and Guts this year, and I loved the overall vibe of Dynamite. Honestly, the show as a whole was much better than the show as a whole last year, if that, makes any sense. I was going to say last year's show was bad. I just enjoyed thoroughly more often this show, to say the least. But before I get on with all this craziness regarding AEW Blood and Guts, of course, make sure to like and subscribe to the WrestleHavoc Podcast right here on YouTube, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content, and as the freaking referee would say, ring, ring, ring that damn bell for more notifications. Of course, if you guys had missed it, the AEW, not AEW, I was about to say AEW Collision, but the AEW Collision review is up on the channel if you guys want to check it out. But the Monday Night Raw review is up on the channel. I talk about Cody Rhodes returning home to Atlanta, and overall, I thought, surprisingly, it was not really a bad show, to say the least. The crowd in Atlanta was all over Cody Rhodes, and if you really think about it, Of course, WWE is on the road to SummerSlam. Judgment Day is really the top faction on the Raw side of things, and Judgment Day is doing a lot of crazy things. And nonetheless, I thoroughly enjoyed this Raw episode, surprisingly, because usually Raw is not the best show, but overall, I definitely enjoyed the show, to say the least. But, of course, we also have episode 22 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast. I talk about 12 pay-per-views a year, and, of course, All In looking like, of course, you're going to have to pay full pay-per-view price for that show. And also considering the fact that All Out is going to be a week in advance, it's going to be absolutely crazy. So hopefully, they get that sorted out. But from what it looks like right now, we're going to have to pay for All In. But episode 22 is up on the channel. If you guys want to check out episode 22 of the WrestleHavoc Podcast, the link will be in the description below. But also, if you guys also missed it, AEW Collision is up on the channel as well. We talk about FTR and, of course, Bullet Club Gold, Jay White and Juice Robinson delivering a tag team classic, that being the 2 out of 3 falls match for the AEW World Tag Team Championship. So if you guys haven't checked out all of those videos, the links of all 3 of those videos will be in the description below. All right. Let's get on to AEW Dynamite. Of course, the show kicks off with the FTW Championship match between Jack Perry. It's going to be a little tough for me to call him Jungle Boy Jack, because JR on commentary, when he was a babyface and when he was paired with Luchasaurus, of course, Jurassic Express, you had Jim Ross constantly on commentary call him Jungle Boy Jack Perry, Jungle Boy Jack Perry. But we had Jack Perry, of course, the new and improved, the heel version of Jack Perry, taking on the FTW champion Hook for the FTW Championship. Jungle Boy Jack Perry, or Jack Perry, man, Jesus Christ. Jack Perry, he has a new entrance. He comes out to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and it's a very weird theme song for him, but there must be a reason as to why that theme song is his theme song. Of course, they aired a nice, very well-produced video package of basically this incarnation of Jack Perry burying the boots that he wore throughout the majority of his wrestling career. I believe Excalibur even mentioned this on commentary. Those boots that Jack Perry has, he buried are the only boots that he is, worn throughout his entire wrestling career. So that was a very interesting note by Excalibur on commentary, but the video package shows him burying the boots and really showing this new version of Jack Perry. Jack Perry, of course, comes out to Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, and it's a theme song very, we're going to have to get used to that theme song. It's a very weird theme song, but there must be a reason behind it, so I'm not really going to crap on the idea. There must be some sort of reason for it, but it's something that we're going to have to get used to at the end of the day. But, of course, Hook makes his entrance as well, and we go through the match. Overall thoughts on the match, I thought the match was pretty good. Hook looked very good in the match. Jack Perry looked phenomenal. Let's go through the match a little bit. Hook immediately goes for the attack, and he goes for a series of body shots. We got a chop by Jack Perry on the outside. Hook sends Jack over the barricade, and Hook just beats the living shit out of this poor dude. Keep in mind, Hook has been chasing Jack Perry for like the past 3 weeks on Dynamite, and it started to get a little bit repetitive. Then Hook hits a clothesline on Jack over the barricade to the ringside area. Hook then goes for a flying right hand. Once you're back in the ring, Jack Perry regains control. Hook then runs into a boot, and then he gouges the eyes of Hook. He ends up hitting a dropkick on the side of the head of Hook, and then we get a cover engineer fall. He goes for the chop, and after that, he drives his boot on Hook. At this point, Hook gets sent to the outside. After that, once we're back from commercial break, Jack hits a DDT on the floor. Jack then goes back into the ring. Hook then comes back at the count of 9. Jack then boots around Hook. He misses the swing. Jack goes for the deadlift German suplex, but then Hook gets up on his feet. That was the best way to make Hook look strong, man. Jack Perry hits a fucking deadlift German, and Hook just gets up from behind. I fucking love that visual. Hook ends up going for a German. He goes for the bridge, and we get a kick out. Then he goes for a second German, and then he goes for the bridge once again. And then we get another cover into near fall, or, a bridge is basically a pin, so we get a near fall. Jack then puts his hand on the referee, and what happens is Jack, once he's like all over the referee, of course, Hook is behind him, and what happens is Jack Perry goes for the low blow. You fucking bastard. After that, he hits the elbow onto the back of the head of Hook, and we get a cover and a near fall. At this point, Jack is pissed off. Jack Perry goes over the timekeeper's area, and he grabs the FTW title belt. and then Jack misses the shot, but then Hook blocks him, and both men land on the referee. So the referee is down at this point, and the referee is knocked down. Then Hook ends up going for a suplex after that. Hook goes for the cover, but there is no referee, so Hook tries to wake up the referee who is knocked out, and then he finally wakes up the referee, but Jack Perry, without the referee looking, hits Hook with the championship belt, and we get a cover by Jack Perry. The referee comes in, slow count by the referee, cover, 1, 2, 3. Jack Perry wins the FTW Fuck the World Heavyweight Championship against Hook. Overall thoughts on this match, man. You know, one criticism that I have, and this is my only criticism of this match, or really the outcome of this match. Jack Perry 100% should have won this match. If you booked a match between Jack Perry and Hook, you know, right in the beginning of Jack Perry's heel run, it makes total sense for Jack Perry to get the win. You know, it'd be very stupid on AEW's part if, you know, they just turned Jack Perry heel and you want to establish Jack Perry as a top heel and really bring more character into Jack Perry and have him lose against Hook. I understand you have a winning streak that, you know, you have with Hook, but let's be honest with ourselves. With Hook having that undefeated streak ever since he made his debut on Rampage 2 years ago, really, if you think about it, you know, did anybody care about what, you know, where Hook was going? Did anybody care about what Hook was doing during that whole time, especially up to where we had, you know, where we got now? Because let's be honest with ourselves, AEW was really doing nothing with Hook creatively, if you really think about it. There was no direction whatsoever when it came to Hook. And I've stated, you know, when Jack Perry, you know, turned on Hook at Forbidden Door, hopefully this not only, you know, gives direction for Jack Perry, but it also gives direction for Hook, because at this point, Hook has no direction. And really, if you think about it, that FTW title, to be quite honest with you, and I know it was the title that his father, you know, created, but let's be honest with ourselves. You know, did the FTW title do anything for Hook? It really did not do anything for Hook, because number one, it's a title that's not even acknowledged by the company. You know, from what it looks like it's now acknowledged, but it's a very complex topic. But still, you know, what was Hook doing with that title, and what creatively was Hook doing? I'll tell you the answer of that. Hook was really doing nothing. Not only, you know, when it comes to, you know, the direction, but also the FTW title. You know, he defended his title there and there, but there was really nothing special with Hook, which sucks, because when he first made his debut, everybody was buzzing about Hook. Everybody was buzzing about him, and everybody was like, holy shit, he's gonna be the next major star. And I still believe that. But really, before this Jack Perry feud, you know, he really wasn't going nowhere. Yeah, you can say, you know, the Jungle Hook stuff definitely worked, but let's be real here. Hook could do something way better than be a part of a tag team. And honestly, him losing the FTW title at the end of the day, you know, it was the right decision to make, because of course you want to establish Jack Perry as a top heel. Now, what do you want to do with Hook after this? Is he going to continue to feud with Jack Perry? Honestly, I genuinely believe he will. And maybe after that Jack Perry feud, who knows? I mean, Ricky Starks is now a heel, and from what it looks like, or what it doesn't look like, we don't know yet, he could very well be a part of Bullet Club Gold. What if we have a one-on-one feud with, you know, Hook and Ricky Starks on the Collision side of things? That'd be something I'd definitely revisit, because they did wrestle once, and that was the time where, of course, Hook defeated Ricky Starks for the FTW Championship, and Ricky Starks eventually turned heel, which led to Powerhouse Hobbs to turn on him. Whatever. But nonetheless, Jack Perry winning the FTW Championship was definitely the right decision to make. Hopefully there's some sort of direction for Jack Perry, because I'll admit the stuff that, you know, when he was getting chased around by Hook was starting to get a little bit repetitive, but also they have some sort of direction with Hook as well, because again, I'm a big fan of Hook, and I genuinely believe Hook deserves more than what he's already getting, in my opinion. Alex Marvez, of course, is trying to get the scoop on the hottest story in wrestling, which, you know, Jericho and Don Callis, you know, it's a very intriguing storyline, but it's not the hottest story in wrestling. The hottest story in wrestling is fucking the Bloodline, okay? Can we all relax with that shit? I know he's over-exaggerating, but whatever. He tries to get the scoop, right? And Chris Jericho is on the table with Don Callis, and then Alex Marvez gets caught, and that was that. Adam Cole and MJF, one of the highlights. Yes, one of the highlights of this show. They are in the parking lot, and Adam Cole wants MJF to face his fears. And one of his fears is spicy food. Yes, spicy food. They go to, I think it's called Kowloon, which is a Chinese restaurant. I've never been there. But, of course, MJF is with Adam Cole, and MJF ends up putting himself over. So they are at the Chinese restaurant. MJF tends to put himself over constantly. Adam Cole gets pissed, and they get their food. And they eat their food, and the food is very hot and very spicy. And they get their drinks, right? MJF thinks this drink is water. And this was fucking hilarious. And MJF drinks the drink, and he's like, what the fuck? And the waiter comes in, and MJF is like, please, I need water. And what happens is, even though MJF thinks this whole drink is water, the waiter was like, this is 100% alcohol. And what happens is, after that, Adam Cole sees the waiter, right? And he says, it reminds me of Sammy Guevara. And, of course, he says it's a dead ringer for Daniel Garcia. And Adam Cole says, I am proud of you. I'm proud that you faced your fears, and there's only one thing left to do. And they both say, double clothesline, and then they clothesline the waiter. And that was that. Keep in mind, so far, up till this show, they didn't hit the double clothesline. But they did on this show in the tag team match against Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. And let me tell you, bro, this pop was out of this fucking world, man. The Bloodline is known for its crazy pops when it comes to big moments. This double clothesline was one of the loudest pops I've ever seen in my fucking life for a goddamn double clothesline. But I'll talk about that later on. Alex Marvez. Alex Marvez is backstage outside of the arena earlier today. Don Callis and, of course, Chris Jericho come out to the limo, and Chris Jericho calls him a fat-headed idiot, and no answer was given to Alex Marvez. So Alex Marvez is literally teleporting from one place to the other place, and he still didn't get any scoop from the quote-unquote hottest story in wrestling. Laugh my ass off. After that, we got the only women's match on this show, which caused a lot of, caused a stir on social media. Britt Baker's in action. Of course, her opponent is Kayla Sparks, who is a jobber. We get a back elbow by Sparks, and then after that, Britt Baker goes for the sling blade. She puts on her glove. She ends up going for the double underhook, and then she ends up hitting the neck breaker. She then applies the lockjaw, and then Britt, applies the lockjaw, and Kayla Sparks taps out, and Britt Baker gets the win. Nothing special here. Britt Baker was just there for the sake of being there. Again, this was the only women's match on this show, which, if you think about it, it's kind of a crime, and let's be honest, there is no direction regarding the AEW women's division. Keep in mind, this show is called Blood and Guts, and if you guys do not remember, there was a lot of rumblings and rumors about there this year possibly being the first ever women's Blood and Guts match between the Outcasts and, the veterans versus the homegrown talent. Remember when the Outcasts first formed in AEW a couple of months ago, and basically the basis of the story was, hey, these are the veterans taking on, the homegrown stars of AEW. That shit went absolutely nowhere, because almost every women's match, every week on Dynamite, after the match, there would always be a run-in with the Outcast, and it started to get so repetitive. The Outcasts just, fucking suck, with all due respect. And let's be honest, man, nobody watches AEW for the Outcasts. And it's a pain for me to say, man. AEW's biggest struggles right now is the direction of the women's division. There's no direction in the women's division whatsoever. This proves it, because there's literally only one match on the fucking show. One match on the show. Granted, this show is Blood and Guts, and the basis of this show is Blood and Guts, and that match is going to be taking over the entire second hour. So they really had to cram a lot of shit in, and really all the MJF and Adam Cole stuff was way more important than a lot of the other stuff. Not to say that the women are not important, but when it comes to stories in wrestling, just the Outcast stuff, it's not working. They need to get something else to really have interest when it comes to the women's division, because right now, the women's division in AEW, there's just no interest, and not a lot of people are invested in it. And it's not the women's fault, it's AEW's fault at the end of the day. After that, Adam Cole and, of course, Mr. Maxwell Jacob Friedman, the AEW World Champion, are backstage, of course, with Renee Paquette. And, of course, they are asked if they are surprised about, this pairing between the both of you, because, of course, they are polar opposites. They are complete opposites, Adam Cole and MJF. Adam Cole says he isn't surprised that they caught lightning in a bottle. With the two of them together, there's no two others on the planet better than them, and they will win this tournament and become the AEW World Tag Team Champions. MJF then says they will hit that double clothesline and win this tournament, unlike Sammy Guevara with his skank wife We don't need plan B. The funniest shit. Yo, you're a savage for saying that. And Daniel Garcia, and they will dance all over his face and make him look like a disgrace in Beantown because they are better than you, baby. Then MJF says he has a surprise for Adam Cole. He has a surprise for him, and Adam Cole's like, wait, what? You have a surprise for me? And, of course, they got matching trunks. So they get matching trunks, and also Adam Cole has the gift of his own. And what happens? They got matching jackets. Oh, the bromance, man. The bromance between Adam Cole and MJF. After that, they have one more surprise, and Adam Cole's like, you need to wait and see. And then they leave. And then when they leave, of course, Renee Paquette is there, but Roderick Strong comes in. So Roderick Strong comes in, and he's looking for Adam Cole. Renee Paquette asks him a question, but Roderick immediately shuts it down. Could we be seeing a heel turn with Roderick Strong and, with Roderick Strong and MJF, maybe a pairing between the two? I doubt it, but I do see Roderick Strong definitely turning heel because clearly that is what they're leading to. Clearly that is what they're leading to. But it's interesting. And I'll talk more about Adam Cole and MJF. After that, we got the match. We got Adam Cole and MJF taking on Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia in, of course, the finals of the Blind Eliminator tournament. Now, of course, the winner of this match will be facing FTR for the AEW World Tag Team Championships July 29th. That's next Saturday on Collision. I really wish it could have been this Saturday because I'm attending Collision this Saturday. But whatever. This match was fucking awesome. So Chris Jericho immediately comes out. He cuts the music. He flips the crowd, and he goes to the commentary table. And he's going to be on commentary. So the match starts, right? MJF and Daniel Garcia starts. Garcia dances. He does this. And then MJF dances. And then he goes to the timekeeper's area. He clicks a button. It looks like there was like a mixer over there. And he clicks the button. And there's just music playing. And fuck, man. There was a goddamn dance-off in the beginning of the match. A legit dance-off. Like, think about something that will come out of WWE. Like, WWE would do shit like this clearly. They did this, but I don't know why. This shit was hilarious. I talked about on the Raw review about how I love, seriousness in wrestling. And I talked about this in the Viking Raiders Viking Rules match against Alpha Academy. Even though I didn't like the match, I've always said, if it's over with the audience, it is over with the audience, and you can't change that. Alpha Academy is over. The Viking Raiders, I don't want to say they're over because they really aren't, but Alpha Academy is definitely over, and they're a comedy act. But even though I'm not really that big of a fan of it, I understand why they would put it on TV. This instant right here, bro, this shit was fucking funny. I love my serious in wrestling, and really, when it comes to AEW, they don't normally do the type of comedy like this. When AEW does comedy, it's fucking special. And we've seen stuff like this in AEW before. Remember the Dinner Debonair with Chris Jericho and MJF? That was hilarious. WWE did the Festival of Friendship. It was a concept that was so fucking stupid, but it worked in the long run. The Festival of Friendship, I always date back to the Festival of Friendship because everybody remembers that segment from 2017. The Festival of Friendship was one of the best produced WWE segments in my opinion. Very good stuff. Comedy shit can work. The problem with the comedy is you can't overdo the comedy. Not to say that Adam Cole and MJF are bad, because they're not. And what they're doing, honestly, is phenomenal work. And they really should keep this going. And later on, after I go through the match, I will tell you why they need to keep going with this MJF and Adam Cole chemistry, because it is absolutely working. They need to drag this shit out. All right. So let's go through the crowd. So we got a dance off, right? MJF dances. And, the heel. So really there's a goddamn face off. And Adam Cole, doesn't want to dance. But, MJF insists him. And he's like, no, man, you should dance. And Adam Cole is dancing. He fucking dances so bad. Adam Cole dances so bad. It's hilarious. And the music stops. And Adam Cole is still fucking dancing. This is the funniest shit ever, bro. I laughed my ass off when I saw this. It was genuinely hilarious. But nonetheless, the match immediately starts. So the heels out of nowhere gain the advantage. Of course, Adam Cole and MJF take turns on Daniel Garcia. They scream double clothesline, and that is not the first time that they screamed double clothesline. And Garcia retreats, and they go to the outside. MJF then runs the ropes, and then they stand tall in the ring. Adam Cole gets taken down once we're back from commercial break. Sammy is on the top, but then MJF rolls away. MJF regains the advantage. Then MJF, of course, collides heads with Sammy Guevara, and MJF is literally fucking overselling the headbutt like fucking Triple H would oversell that move. Of course, it was. I believe it was on a Raw, but like it was after a Raw taping where like Triple H did a spot, and he was just like standing there like this, like he oversold that shit. Like MJF oversold this headbutt. Later on, Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia miss the double clothesline because yes, they did try to go for the double clothesline. MJF tags Adam Cole. AC goes for the pump kick, and then he picks up Garcia, but then Garcia escapes. Then Adam Cole goes for a series of super kicks. Adam Cole goes to the top. He misses the Panama Sunrise. After that, we get repeated kicks by Daniel Garcia. And then Daniel Garcia, of course, dances off. And then we get a super kick once again by Adam Cole. Cole then takes down his knee pad and then runs the ropes. But, of course, Sammy comes in. We get a springboard by Sammy, but then we get a super kick by Adam Cole. They scream, double clothesline. And then MJF tags in. Sammy ducks the double clothesline. So as soon as Sammy ducked the double clothesline, you were like, fuck, they didn't hit the double clothesline. After that, we get the double Spanish fly by Sammy Guevara, which looked very impressive. Sammy goes to the top, and then he gets caught. Sammy then escapes. Adam Cole goes for the blind tag, and then Sammy gets hit with the super kick. MJF and Adam Cole are ready. But Garcia goes for the blind tag. He goes for the double chop block, or the double chop block, I should say. My apologies. And then Daniel Garcia then applies the Dragon Slayer. After that, or the Dragon Tamer. I got confused. After that, Adam Cole gets taken to the ropes, and then Garcia gets taken to the outside. Adam Cole tells MJF to do a dive. This was one of my favorite moments in the entire match. So Adam Cole tells him to do a dive, being a suicide dive / a tope suicida. And MJF is like, shocked, because earlier in the match, MJF was running the ropes, and he kind of stopped and trolled the audience. And he was doing something similar here, right? So MJF is like thinking about it. He's like, man, should I do this dive or not? Because MJF is not known for doing dives, when it comes to his matches. And MJF blatantly even said this in interviews and, media scrums. Like, bro, I don't do a lot of the crazy shit you'll see a lot of people do in AEW, man. I play my shit very safe. I do crazy shit when it's needed. Okay, I wrestle mad safe, unlike all these other schmucks, says MJF, because MJF does not like the fucking indie style that a lot of people will call it. He doesn't like the high-flying style. He thinks it's for the marks and all that shit, which, honestly, mad respect to MJF. Even though I like that style, mad respect to MJF. But MJF takes his time, right? And the crowd, Adam Cole just, he stops himself. Right? No, MJF stops himself. Adam Cole goes for a series of super kicks. Adam Cole then pumps the crowd up. So he pumps the crowd up. They come to their feet. MJF goes for the tope suicida. And he goes for the tope suicida. MJF is like, holy shit, I just hit a tope. What the fuck? And he's just so shocked. And then MJF takes Garcia into the ring. Adam Cole goes for the Panama Sunrise. And they scream, double clothesline. And what happens? MJF goes for the tag. And then they fucking hit it. They hit the fucking double clothesline. Adam Cole and MJF hit the double clothesline. And let me tell you, the double clothesline is like the most basic move you could ever do. One clothesline is simple enough. A double clothesline is double the simple. I don't give a shit what anybody says. The double clothesline, if you think about it on paper, is such a stupid ass move and is such a basic move. Bro, Adam Cole and MJF hit this double clothesline. And the crowd just went up their feet, and they got up on their feet, and they just popped for this double clothesline. If they popped the way that they did, you can tell the audience is invested with what Adam Cole and MJF are doing. Like, it was that loud. And they hit the double clothesline, and we get a cover. And Adam Cole and MJF win the Blind Eliminator tournament and will face FTR July 29th on Collision. After the match, Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara meet with Jericho up on the stage. Jericho looks at them, and Daniel Garcia and Sammy Guevara walk off on Chris Jericho. After that, in the ring, Adam Cole has the belt, and this is the storyline development, which I absolutely love. Adam Cole has the belt just to give it to MJF. MJF looks at this, and MJF just gets pissed. And he's like, what the fuck are you doing? What are you doing? What are you doing? And Adam Cole explains I was just giving it to you, dude. I was just giving it to you. MJF gets the belt, and MJF is like, oh, I'm sorry. That is on me. That is on me. And after that, they hug it out. And what happens is Cole celebrates. So he goes up to the second rope and celebrates with the audience, and the camera pans to MJF just looking at him with a disappointed and just pissed off look at his face. So you can tell they're going somewhere. I love the little details that they do. That is something that WWE does very, very, very well, and I love what AEW is doing in that sense. So the camera pans to MJF, and he's just like, "You son of a bitch," but he's still celebrating. So he's still celebrating, and the camera pans after that to MJF looking pissed. FTR then come out. They come in the ring. Both teams face off, and of course, they leave. And it's set. They're going to be facing off against one another on July 29th at AEW Collision. Overall, man, thoughts on this whole thing. The chemistry with Adam Cole and MJF is out of this fucking world. Again, just like I said weeks prior, the initial idea of Adam Cole and MJF teaming together is such a stupid idea. But it's a stupid idea that just works. It just works so well. And AEW has done a very, very, very good job of really trying to get the crowd riled up and really get the crowd to support Adam Cole and MJF, man. The crowd is so invested with what they're watching. And that, honestly, I don't think it's the right time for them to split up. This is very similar to Sami Zayn and the Bloodline. When Sami Zayn first, started interacting with the Bloodline back in, the spring of last year, into the summer, we all thought they're immediately going to turn on this guy. But once Triple H got the book, they dragged this shit out all the way to January, and it worked so well. I do not know what the plans are when it comes to Adam Cole and MJF. Honestly, a lot of people are saying they could possibly wrestle for the world title at All In or All Out. We have absolutely no idea. But honestly, if you think about it, with the way that they are booking, Adam Cole and MJF, could they win the tag team championships? I wouldn't be against it because, honestly, look, I've been very critical of FTR's title reign. I think FTR is one of the best tag teams in the world. And I love the stuff that they're doing, with CM Punk. But aside from what they're doing with CM Punk, I do not like the title reign of FTR because if you think about it, FTR's title reign, it wasn't really that special. It wasn't really that special in my opinion. So we could be seeing Adam Cole and MJF possibly winning the AEW Tag Team Championships. But if FTR get the win, I wouldn't be against that. Again, AEW has their own plans, but if the opportunity comes, and it clearly shows, man, the audience is absolutely invested in what they are doing. And the quarters haven't come out for this show. The ratings did come out, but I don't think the quarters for this show came out. Last week, Adam Cole and MJF were one of the highest, as I believe, the highest quartered segment in the entire show. But bro, if the crowd is invested in what you're doing, man, drag this shit out long term. Drag this shit out long term because it just works. It just works so well, and honestly, AEW has a golden opportunity right now to really, just tell a simple story that just works with the audience. And the audience is clearly invested in what they're doing, man. They could possibly drag this shit out for how long, I have no idea. But does that involve them, unfortunately, changing their plans? Yes, but still, it just works in the long run. And honestly, I'm not against the idea of them being a legit pair for a while and then splitting up. Because if you drag this shit out, think about this. If you dragged the chemistry that MJF and Adam Cole have, the pairing of both Adam Cole and MJF, if you drag it out, then, the split will be way more impactful. Just look at Sami Zayn. The way Sami Zayn hit Roman with the chair, it's very similar in that sense. Sami Zayn first inserted himself in the Bloodline. It was such a stupid idea because at that point, the Bloodline was getting stale. And you were like, bro, of all people, Sami Zayn is showing up with the Bloodline. But then as we headed towards the summer and as we headed towards the fall, Sami Zayn started to get so hot with the audience that everybody was like, bro, this shit is working so well. Do not whack Sami Zayn right now. And they whacked Sami Zayn in January, and just the impact was so fucking good. It ended up being, in my opinion, one of the best pay-per-view endings in WWE history. They could definitely have something similar with Adam Cole and MJF. Again, it is a stupid idea that just works. The audience is clearly invested. They are so over with the audience. I guarantee you the t-shirt, we're better than you, Bay, is probably the number one selling t-shirt on shopaew.com. You could just tell it is. But still, drag this, man. You have a golden opportunity here. Do not split them up right now. It just works. But if they do split up, that's probably AEW focusing on their plans. But overall, man, this shit just works beautifully. It just does. It really does. All right. Moving on. We have Best Friends and Darby Allin and Nick Wayne backstage. Darby asks Orange Cassidy, he hasn't asked for a handout, but he asks if he can give AR Fox a shot at the international title, and Orange Cassidy's like, yeah. Moving on. We got the Blood and Guts match. Yes, it's finally here. We got the Blood and Guts match. We got the Elite versus the Blackpool Combat Club. Overall, man, this match was in-fucking-sane. Everything about this match was, I don't want to say pure perfection because I love saying that a lot, but this was everything that AEW has advertised when it comes to Blood and Guts, if you think about it. Everything that they have promoted about Blood and Guts, they did on this show. Did somebody get thrown off the cage this year? No. And honestly, that is a good thing. They try to differentiate themselves from what other Blood and Guts match, which is only 2, tried to do. And that is what I really enjoyed about this match. They did different things that the other Blood and Guts matches did not do. And that is what you want. Because if you do the same thing year by year, it starts to get a little bit repetitive. So I'm glad nobody fell off the cage. And also, you kind of knew nobody was going to get thrown off the cage, considering the fact that if you think about it, last year in the Timekeepers area, there was a platform where somebody can get falled. Not can get falled, but there was a platform last year where somebody can get thrown off and land safely. They didn't have that this year, so you clearly knew they were not going to throw somebody off the cage this year, even though we had Wheeler Yuta and Matt Jackson at the top of the cage. But if you think about it, in my opinion, I genuinely believe this was probably the best Blood and Guts match that AEW has ever produced. Keep in mind, up until this match, there are only 3 Blood and Guts matches. Of course, 2 years ago with the Inner Circle and the Pinnacle, then last year with the JAS versus the BCC, and this year with the BCC versus the Elite. But in my opinion, this was the best Blood and Guts match that AEW has done so far because they perfected everything. Because if you think about it, in the first Blood and Guts match, one of the biggest problems in the match was not the match itself. Well, it was basically the ending of the match where Jericho fell through, when he fell off the cage and basically landed on crash pads. The problem itself was not Jericho falling through crash pads because it's very logical and it makes total sense for Jericho to land safely, in real life. But if you look at it from a kayfabe perspective, the Jericho fall, the way that they shot the fall, it just did not look good whatsoever. And nobody really talked about the match itself. Everybody just came off the match just talking about the ending because they shot it so poorly. And they fixed that last year. And last year I thought the match was great, but if you look at it from a feud perspective, I thought the Blackpool Combat Club versus the JAS lasted way too fucking long. Way too fucking long of a feud, and it should have ended with the Blood and Guts match. Or ended somewhat around the summer. Looking back, the Blackpool Combat Club where they were last year compared to where they are this year, bro, the Blackpool Combat Club is in a much better state this year. Because when Regal left, there was a lot of concern on what could happen with the group. And them turning heels was possibly the best decision for the Blackpool Combat Club. But everything about this match was very good from a production standpoint. Just the small details of the Blood and Guts match, when the cage was getting lowered down, when, those overhead shots of the cage with the dark lighting and just the flashes of lights, it created that big fight feel. That's what I really love in a wrestling show, and that is what I loved about the Blood and Guts match. It created that big fight feel, just the small things, the entrances, the Blackpool Combat Club, as they usually do. They did come through the crowd last year, but everybody was on the outside of the ring, and then they came in the match. This year, they all came out individually. And it was so cool. It was a nice touch. You had the Elite coming out from the stage one by one whenever they were ready. And you had the Blackpool Combat Club come out from the audience one by one. That small touch I loved. Because, again, it shows that these two teams are polar opposites from one another. Just the small things in this match made the match what it was. And that is the biggest takeaway that I can really give you for this Blood and Guts match. But, nonetheless, let's go through this whole match. This match was a fucking bloodbath. Because, of course, the match is called Blood and Guts. I see people complaining on the internet. Look, I get it. The argument of AEW using blood, overusing it is a valid argument. But if you are complaining about the blood usage in a match that is called Blood and Guts, you clearly do not know what the fuck you're talking about. That's my personal opinion, because if the match is called Blood and Guts, you are expected to have blood and fucking guts, okay? Okay, whatever. So we got Claudio making his first entrance. Kenny makes his entrance. And another thing I want to mention is the order of entrance and participants in the match makes total sense as well. And I'll talk about that later on as I go through the match. So Kenny and Claudio start the match. They fight it out. Kenny goes for Claudio. Claudio goes for a series of uppercuts. Kenny goes for repeated right hands, and he ends up hitting a chop. We get a back elbow by Kenny Omega. Claudio picks up Kenny, and then Kenny escapes. Kenny goes for the waistlock, and then Kenny gets caught into a backbreaker. And then we get the crowd, and you could tell they are invested. The crowd was like, use this ring, because they were wrestling in the first ring, and of course, they didn't wrestle in the other ring yet, but of course, they later on went to the other ring. Claudio gets thrown from one ring to the other. Then we get a chop by Kenny. Then Kenny goes for a second and then the third chop. Kenny then drives his boot on Claudio, but then Claudio goes for a slam on Kenny. Then we get an elbow drop by Claudio, and then he goes for a chop, and then we get a series of chops in the corner. Then Kenny gets sent into the corner, and then he rolls through. Kenny goes for a beautiful Hurricane Rana, and then he dunks through, Claudio. After that, Pac is the next entrant, and of course Pac is a part of the Blackpool Combat Club. Not officially, not an official member, but he is, a part of the Team for Blood and Guts. Pac is the next entrant, and this is what I was talking about. The order of placement in the participants making their entrance and entering the Blood and Guts match made total sense. I immediately knew, as soon as the countdown was, counting down, I knew Pac was going to be the next entrance, because if you think about it, Pac and Kenny Omega have history with one another. They had history in, of course, the very first year of AEW, where basically Kenny, lost to Pac when, of course, Pac applied that brutalizer on him. And then later on, they had, of course, the amazing Iron Man match, a phenomenal Iron Man match. So Kenny and Pac have history with one another. Kenny continues to fight off Claudio. Pac is off the top. He ends up hitting a shotgun dropkick. Then we get a series of spinning kicks by Pac, and then he kicks the head of Kenny, and once we're back from commercial break, the Blackpool Combat Club are ganging up on Kenny Omega. Once we're back from break, Hangman Page is the next entrant, and again, order of the participants coming out for this match makes sense. Hangman Page also has a lot of history with Pac. Hangman comes in for the save. He fights off the Blackpool Combat Club, he picks up Pac, and then he ends up hitting a fallaway slam. And then he hits the lariat on Claudio, and then we get the powerbomb by Hangman on Pac. Hangman climbs the cage, and then he ends up hitting a fucking moonsault. At this point, the babyface are in control. We get a German by Hangman. After that, Kenny boots Claudio on the cage. He sends him repeatedly on the cage, and then Kenny later on gets sent on the cage. But then later on, Claudio dropkicks Kenny on the cage. After this, Jon Moxley comes out, right? Jon Moxley comes out, and this man wasted no fucking time. Just as I stated in the beginning of this fucking review, Jon Moxley is one sick son of a bitch. That is exactly what he is. This man wasted no goddamn time. This man comes out, and it looked like he had a screwdriver or a fork, whatever, and he stabs Hangman in the face, and then he stabs Kenny, and he stabs Kenny in the fucking ear. This man did not give a shit. Claudio has the fork. He gives it to Moxley. Moxley stabs Kenny with the fork, and then he stabs Hangman. Mox then goes under the ring, and he brings out a bucket. So he brings out this bucket, right? He brings out this bucket, and Hangman and Moxley are fighting it out. We get a lariat by Mox. Mox later on grabs the bucket, and he empties the bucket, and it's freaking glass. Glass. Yeah, glass. Nick Jackson is next, right? Nick Jackson goes for the dropkick on Moxley. Mox lands on the glass. Holy fucking shit. We get a super kick on Claudio, then on Moxley. Then we get a series of clotheslines by Pac on the other ring. We get a facebuster on Claudio, and then he hits the cutter on Pac. We get a Hurricane Rana on Claudio. A beautiful looking Hurricane Rana, by the way, on Claudio. And Claudio lands on the glass. Mox, of course, then, he throws Nick on the glass. He takes the glass and puts it on the chest of Nick Jackson, and he stomps Nick on his chest with the glass on Nick Jackson. I can't believe it, man. He stomps on Nick Jackson. The Blackpool Combat Club take Kenny, and then they go for the double suplex on Kenny on the glass. Wheeler Yuta is the next entrant. Yuta brings out a chair. Once we're back from commercial break, Matt Jackson is next. We got a series of clotheslines on Pac. Matt then drives Pac face first onto the mat. Yuta then misses the chair shot, but then Matt fakes a super kick and hits a DDT. Matt then fights off Claudio and Moxley. Matt goes to the top, but then the Bucks go for the risky business on Moxley. After that, we got complete chaos at this point. After that, we get a Hurricane Rana by Nick on Claudio. Mox then clotheslines both of the Bucks in the corner. Yuta gets driven face first onto the glass by Kenny. At this point, Konosuke Takeshita is next. The way Konosuke Takeshita ran into this match kind of reminded me of Cody Rhodes. It was hilarious. Takeshita then brings in a chair. He hits Hangman with the chair on the face. Then after that, Takeshita goes for the double German suplex on the Young Bucks. Kenny then takes the chair away, but then Takeshita hits a right on Kenny. And then he ends up hitting a furious lariat on Kenny. Moxley, and this is what I talked about, man, and I'm going to put this in a fucking short, man. Moxley, man, I'm going to clip this shit. Moxley. You know how Moxley is a crazy son of a bitch? This fucking guy. I talked about how he immediately came in and he wasted no goddamn time. Moxley brings out a board of nails. I saw this one meme on the internet saying, ban Jon Moxley from Home Depot. You should ban Jon Moxley from Home Depot because this man has a sick mind. This man brings out a freaking board of nails, sharp nails. And so he brings out these nails, right? And Kenny blocks the nail board using his boot, but it looks like his boot went through the nails. And what happens is Moxley boots Kenny on the nail of boards. That was brutal. And then Moxley was not done. He drops him down on the board of nails once again. Jesus Christ. Like, Jon Moxley, man. I'm a big fan of Jon Moxley, but you are sick, my guy. You are one sick man. You are one sick man for doing that shit. First, you bring out a freaking, a screwdriver and stab everybody with it. You use a goddamn fork immediately when you come in the match and stab everybody with it. And then you bring out a whole freaking just board of nails. Like, oh my God. This match is called Blood and Guts for a fucking reason. This match is called Blood and Guts for one particular reason. It's called Blood and Guts because of one man. And that man is Jon Moxley. Ladies and gentlemen. So after that, the next entrant it's the final entrant. It's Kota Ibushi. Finally, the Golden Star makes his AEW debut. He takes out Yuta on the ramp, right? And the crowd is eating this shit up. We get a series of right hands by Pac, and then on Claudio, and then on Takeshita. Like, bro, the swagger on this dude. Like, Ibushi just comes in and just knocks everybody out. And he takes out Claudio. He takes out Takeshita. Moxley, stomps on the hand of Omega on the nails. Ibushi slowly goes near Moxley. Ibushi then goes for repeated rights and kicks on Moxley. Of course, that karate background. And then Pac and Claudio go for the double team. We get a double overhead kick by Ibushi. After that, we get a brain buster on Yuta on the ramp. And then Moxley gets driven on the nails by Ibushi. Yes, he gets driven on the nails by Ibushi. But Ibushi was not done. Ibushi stood there, just very calmly, hits a fucking standing moonsault, and literally drives Moxley once again on the freaking board of nails. Again, I don't know how Moxley can survive that shit. We get a double team by the Golden Lovers. They set up the BTE trigger, but Claudio comes in. Claudio picks up Nick Jackson, and then he throws him on the cage. Once we're back from commercial break, or actually during commercial break, Yuta actually climbs up the cage and on the top of the cage. Matt Jackson also climbs the cage, and once we're back from break, Yuta and Matt Jackson fight off the top of the cage. Now, once they were on top of the cage, I immediately thought, oh yeah, somebody's definitely going to get thrown off, but then you saw the timekeepers area. Last year, of course, and I stated this earlier, there was a platform on the timekeepers area. This year, there was no platform on the timekeepers area. So right then and there, you kind of knew nobody was going to get thrown off this year. But what happens is Matt goes for a series of northern-like suplexes on the top of the cage. And what happens is for that final northern-like suplex that Matt was going to give, that was going to drop Yuta off the top of that cage. But Yuta counters the first, or the last, I should say, northern-like suplex with a DDT. He almost gets suplexed off, right? Matt is the only one on the top, but then Yuta returns to the cage. Moxley then, of course, goes for a pile driver on Kota Ibushi. Matt is still on the top, and this man rains thumbtacks off the top all the way in the inside of the ring, and it's just pouring thumbtacks. And what happens, Nick Jackson goes for a super kicks, and actually, no, before that, Matt and Hangman, of course, or I should say, I think it was Nick and Hangman, suplex Claudio and Pac on the thumbtacks. After that, we get a series of super kicks by Nick Jackson. "We want tables," chant, and the table is brought out. And then Ibushi tries to pile drive Pac, and then Pac escapes. We get the buckle bomb and a kick combination by Ibushi and the Bucks. Kenny goes for the "you can't escape" moonsault, and then Hangman goes for the shooting star press. Of course, the nice double team dating back to Kenny and Hangman when they were a tag team. Then we get the elbow drop by Matt. We got a 450 by Nick. They were just murdering everybody. The Bucks apply the sharpshooter on Pac. Once we're back from commercial break, Moxley is on the second rope with Hangman. Moxley then scratches the back of Hangman, but then everybody goes for a suplex on one another. So like everybody's in like each corner of the ring, and they all take turns on hitting suplexes. After that, Pac is hanging up on the cage, right? He's hanging all the way at the top. And this man, so Pac is hanging up on the top, and he goes for a diving stomp on the table through Nick Jackson. Holy shit. Both teams are in separate rings. They both get up. A brawl breaks loose. We get a double super kick on Claudio and Yuta. We get a lariat by the Bucks on Takeshita. And after that, actually, no, we got a lariat on the Bucks by Takeshita. My apologies. Hangman goes for a lariat. We got a cutter by Mox. We got a knee by Ibushi. We got a snapdragon on Pac by Kenny on the glass. Spot after spot after spot at this point. Kenny picks up Pac, but then Pac applies the brutalizer. And the brutalizer, of course, was a move that knocked out Kenny Omega. Then after that, Yuta goes for the abdominal stretch on Nick Jackson. The BCC are applying submissions on everybody, so the Blackpool Combat Club had the advantage. Claudio goes for the swing on Matt in the other ring, but then Claudio ends up applying the sharpshooter. Ibushi kicks everybody. And this, even though Ibushi didn't look great, he clearly looked out of shape. But if there's one thing that they try to do was make Ibushi look, as strong as he did. Because we all know what Ibushi is capable of, and Ibushi clearly can do a lot more than what he did in this match. Clearly, Ibushi clearly was like out of shape in this match, but Ibushi just kicks everybody, breaking each submission. We get a series of kicks on Claudio, and then Claudio still has the sharpshooter applied, but then Claudio finally breaks free. We get a bunch of Ibushi chants by the crowd. The Blackpool Combat Club gang up on Omega. They all, take turns on Omega. Omega then escapes Claudio, and then tension begins with Claudio and Pac. Pac gets so mad that he flips off the Blackpool Combat Club. He flips off the Blackpool Combat Club, and Pac looks like he's walking out. He takes out, one of those cutters that you break chains of, and he unlocks the door, and he leaves. He leaves, and the Blackpool Combat Club are down. They're missing one member, and unfortunately that member left. So Pac leaves, right? Pac leaves, and what happens is Omega ends up hitting the V-trigger. Omega hits the Snapdragon. Then, we got the move on Takeshita, and then Hangman is off the apron. He ends up hitting the buckshot lariat. He hits it on Yuta. And then after that, Kenny goes for the V-trigger. Super kick by Matt. Hangman then grabs handcuffs, and he handcuffs Mox on the ropes. We get the super kick on Yuta. Don Callis, meanwhile, while the Blackpool Combat Club are getting fucking obliterated, Don Callis, being the cheesy slime ball that he is, he pulls Takeshita out of the match. So Takeshita now walks out, knowing that the Blackpool Combat Club are going to lose, and the Elite are in control. Hangman grabs the chain. Matt has thumbtacks on his shoe. He drives it on Yuta. After that, Matt Jackson, has the thumbtacks, and after that, he drives, his boot on Yuta. Then Hangman grabs a chain, and he chokes out Yuta just like he did Jon Moxley at Revolution. The storytelling. And Hangman chokes out Yuta with the chain. It looks like Yuta passed out, but actually what happened, and they didn't really shoot it well, Moxley, I believe, called for the surrender because he was handcuffed and there was nothing that he could do. Yuta then passes out, and the Elite, or I should say the Golden Elite, won Blood and Guts. Holy fucking shit. That was a long review, or long, coverage of the Blood and Guts match itself. But overall, this match was insane, man. This was by far AEW's best Blood and Guts match that they have ever produced. The story that was being told was phenomenal. I thought the developments, or possibly, storyline developments, was great. We're going to be getting a match between Pac and Claudio at Death Before Dishonor for the ROH World title, which, honestly, if you think about it, it's kind of pretty random, but at the same time, they kind of, in a way, told a story on this match, but again, nobody gives a shit about Death Before Dishonor. And, of course, the story element of Hangman choking out Wheeler Yuta, because he did the same thing with Jon Moxley dating back to their Texas Death Match at Revolution. Just phenomenal stuff. Ibushi didn't look great, but again, if you think about it, even though Ibushi didn't look great, he wasn't in shape. I still thought he looked pretty good for the amount of stuff he did, even though it wasn't the Ibushi that we all knew and loved. It got the job done at the end of the day, so I didn't mind it. The brutality was off the charts. Jon Moxley, again, 1-6 son of a bitch. That is the name. Every time we talk about Jon Moxley and he bleeds, we will constantly say that Jon Moxley is 1-6 son of a bitch. And I mean that in the best way possible, because I actually like Jon Moxley. Just crazy stuff. This match was phenomenal from an in-ring perspective, from a story perspective, from a production standpoint. AEW absolutely knocked it out of the park with this match. And the right team won. Remember a couple of weeks ago where CM Punk pitched himself to be a part of this match and to be the fifth man for the Blackpool Combat Club? Even though it'd be awesome, if you think about it from a story perspective on a match that the Elite clearly should win, and they did, it wouldn't make any sense for CM Punk to be on the opposing team. But nonetheless, this match was very good. I loved it. I had a blast watching this match. I was absolutely shocked when I was watching some of these spots go down, man. This match was everything as advertised. This match was Blood and Guts. Those are my thoughts on this match as a whole. Overall thoughts, I thought Blood and Guts was a phenomenal show this year. The show from top to bottom was very good. The Adam Cole and MJF stuff was phenomenal. Jack Perry, even though it's kind of weird him winning the FTW title, if you think about it, it makes sense for the character of Jack Perry to really win a title like the FTW title, considering the fact that they're trying to establish Jack Perry as a heel, so it makes sense. Of course, the Blood and Guts match was out of this world. I absolutely loved it. But yeah, that was Blood and Guts. Overall, phenomenal show. One of the best AEW Dynamites this year, in my opinion. But nonetheless, this was a great show regardless. I absolutely enjoyed this show. But yeah, that was my AEW Dynamite Blood and Guts review from July 19th, 2023. Of course, be on the lookout for my SmackDown review. I'm going to be covering SmackDown. I think I'm going to be doing episode 23 of the WrestleHavoc podcast, and hopefully I'm probably, I do not know yet, I'm probably going to be uploading it tomorrow, considering the fact that I'm still going to be covering Collision, but I'm actually going to be attending Collision this coming Saturday, so I'm going to have to work around that, and hopefully I can come with you guys with a Collision review on Sunday. We're going to have to wait and see. I usually tend to review Collision immediately after the show and then upload it, but we're going to have to wait and see, considering, I'm going to be live on the show. I'm planning on doing a vlog for that show, but I don't know how that's going to work out. We're going to have to wait and see. I would always say this, when it comes to other events that I would attend, but I end up not doing vlogs, but hopefully I get around with doing a vlog and really showing you guys my experience, or I will show you guys my experience in some videos from Collision, me being there on the Collision review. But it's going to be a weird schedule, but I'm still going to be covering SmackDown. I'm going to be coming out with episode 23 probably tomorrow. And, of course, I'm still going to be covering Collision. So we got a lot of stuff going on this coming weekend. But overall, I'm still going to be giving you guys all that content. But, yeah, that was my AEW Dynamite review from July 19th, 2023. Please like, subscribe, comment down below. Push that bell for notifications and be on the lookout for more videos right here on the WrestleHavoc Podcast, in which we discuss everything in and outside of the squared circle. Make sure to like and subscribe for more content. And, as the friggin' referee would say, ring that damn bell for more notifications. And as always, it is Flamin' Ricky DeRays, signing out. I'll see you guys later. Peace.